Hello! Welcome. Well, you know where you are because you clicked on this button. But this is Desert Trippin'. I'm Joe Bowie. We haven't done a live in a while. My lame live streams. But they're fun. I like to use them just to check in quickly and say hello, give you a quick update. That's what I'm doing right now. Before I tell you where we're going right now, let me just tell you what we've been up to. We've been very busy. This summer has been crazy. We've been editing stuff from our Bombay Beach series like crazy. I know we kind of went down the Bombay Beach rabbit hole, but that's easy to do because we were there for Convivium, which was the Biennale that they had, the event they had instead of Biennale. And it was a very creative and artistic, expressive, and fun gathering. So I had so much video content to work with that it's just taken me a while. I didn't want to do a shitty video. So I think we put out like 6 different sections or short videos, I guess, different topics. And the last one was about a really fascinating sculptor named Sean Guerrero. And I don't know how many people have been to Bombay Beach, but if you're into really surreal, cool, not boring activities, you could check out Bombay Beach. It's not far from LA. It's kind of near the Mexican border, maybe 100 miles or so from the Mexican border in Imperial County. It's a very forsaken area. It has a crazy history. If you've seen my videos, you probably know a little bit of the history. But Sean Guerrero is an amazing sculptor, and he very creative guy too. He's like just so much creative energy just coursing through his veins. You can't swing a dead cat in Bombay Beach without hitting a Sean Guerrero work of art. And he's got some huge ones, some big, important, epic pieces. The latest thing he built down there was this pirate ship, which is kind of an amalgamation of this reconstructed old car and a death ship that was an old installation that he kind of merged them together and made this new creation that's really, really cool. And he'll probably be working on it more. So it's one of those things that it's never really done. So check out that video, Sean Guerrero, fascinating dude. He has a website called Chrome Sean, like chrome on a car bumper, chromesean.com, and you can learn about him there. We took a break from Bombay Beach because of something that was coming up that was very timely. And a couple weeks ago, we went down to Chatsworth, and we finally met a friend of mine, an online friend of mine named Stoner Van Houten. His real name is Bruce Fox, but Stoner Van Houten is kind of what he goes by. And he kind of got famous with a YouTube channel that he started after he got out of prison. I'm not gonna lie, he was a bad boy for a while, and then he went to prison for it. And when he came out, he decided to change his ways, and he found a new direction in creating content before creating content was a big thing. I think he's had this channel, Spawn Ranch Worker, 14 years. So that's a good run on YouTube. Anyway, that video, it's been a little slow getting the views and the interaction with people who follow Desert Trippin', but I think it's going to be in the long run, I think it's going to be a very popular video. It's just going to take a while to catch on, only because I think right now the YouTube ecosystem is very saturated, and there's a lot going on in real life, so people maybe aren't on the platform as much, and they're doing other things. It's the end of summer. So if you're, if you have a spare 20 minutes, 30 minutes, check out The Last Jam, which is my last desert trip and edited video. And then today we are heading out to do a follow-up visit with a good friend of the show, Joseph Barrett. Joseph Barrett, if you don't know, he's a really cool, creative, artistic guy, probably the most positive person you'll ever meet. Funny, big heart. Well, unfortunately, another thing you'll know about him is he's got multiple sclerosis, which is a horrible disease. He's in a wheelchair. He has very limited physical mobility. Most people would be pretty pissed off and angry and bitter and be assholes, but Joe has a philosophy that when things go bad for you, you need to have a positive attitude. Otherwise, you're going to be drawn into all that negativity. So he was an inspiration 3 years ago. I had known him online, and he was friends with a mutual friend of ours. And we became, we communicated, and then at one point I said, I should drive out to, at the time he was in 29 Palms, I should drive out to 29 Palms and visit him. And so we did, and we had a nice visit. And he had all these cool toys he could show me. He had this motorized wheelchair, this special van that could load the wheelchair, and he was able to get around. He was pretty mobile. So fast forward from there, I think I visited him on a weekend, and the next week, like on a Monday or something, he had qualified for a medical trial, and he got on this drug called Ocrevus, which was like a miracle, literally a miracle. Like if you ever read the Bible and you saw some of those miracles, this was a miracle. Like he got up out of his wheelchair and walked. His left hand was always like in a ball, and he could move it, and move his arm around. So, I mean, that's got to be such a great feeling. So you could go back and check out those videos. They're actually pretty heartwarming, and I think I kind of teared up a little bit when I did my follow-up interview with him, and he was walking around and waving his hands, and all of his physical abilities were like 10 times better. Anyway, okay, so that was 3 years ago. We stayed in touch. His life dream was to at some point travel to Mexico, and he wanted to do a documentary about how a disabled person can navigate a third world country. I guess Mexico is a third world country, depending on what part of Mexico we're talking about. But he was going to go all over the place to these beautiful, remote places and maybe some cities and whatnot. But he obviously had to pick places where he could get some support, if needed. Well, you're going to hear about it after I interview him a bit more when I actually make this video that we're shooting today. You'll hear more about his adventures. And you would think it's sad because he got robbed, he got betrayed, he had all his shit stolen, he was left for dead, he was abandoned, had no way to communicate with people, and he managed to make his way back to the States. Not once, but twice. He actually came back to the States after all that, patched himself up, put himself back together again, did more research, and he made a second attempt to move to Mexico. This time he thought he found a safer, more stable area, and I think he had some contacts there that he trusted, and I guess that all fell apart as well, and he was once again left stranded with all his shit gone, and you know, I think he learned his lesson from that. I don't think he's going to try to go back to Mexico again. I guess if you're a disabled American, you're just too easy of a mark. That was his sort of take from what happened, and I can kind of see that. So we will find out maybe some cool stories from him today, and I'm sure if I know Joseph Barrett, he's got some crazy plan that he will actually pull off in the future again, because that's the kind of guy he is. So that's a little heads up on what we're doing today. We might go have lunch. He's out in Highland Park, and I kind of know that area because I used to live in South Pasadena. I think we're just going to go see him and then turn around and go straight home, because I have to download all the content. I have to work on some other stuff at home, and I'll also admit that I also have to work on my fantasy football shit. I have not paid any attention, and I know the season's about to start, and that's one of my guilty pleasures is fantasy football. So I do have to do a little research on that. Last thing, I wanted to give some shout outs to people. You know, I haven't been posting as regularly as I like, and I haven't been traveling as much. It's been crazy hot, and we've had some things going on at home, so I had to take care of those things. But in no particular order, Angie, my so-called life, if you're out there, what's up? I miss you. I haven't seen you in a long time. I'm hoping to make a slab run. I don't know if I'm going to do it before Halloween. Most people say don't go to Slab City till after Halloween because it's so hot. I might try to go sooner, but for sure I'm heading out there when the season starts just to visit and hang out. And my friend Cosmic Bad Boy, you know who you are, out in the community over there. My friend Mad Mac, shout out to you. Miss you. I've been following your TikToks and your Instagrams and whatever stuff you've been putting out there. And a shout out to Piglet and Cheese, his two cute dogs. My friend Cornelius Van Gogh, I really miss you. It's been a long ass time. And of course Satan, her dog, their dog, fucked up. Anyway, they know whose dog it is. But I love all of you and miss you all. My buddy Dave Lowe, shout out to you, man. I know you're traveling, wanna wander, you're out in the world somewhere. A lot of these people do wind up coming back to Slab City at some point, and I usually run into them there. And Lisa Wiley, I know you from Bombay Beach, but I know you're traveling around, and I know you've had some fucked up shit with your leg. I think you fucked up your leg and had to get some surgery, and then had a secondary infection, and it sucked for a long time. I hope you're not in too much pain. Just be patient with yourself. Give yourself some time to heal and don't rush, or you'll fuck yourself up worse. And Sean Guerrero, you know, we talked about the video we did. My buddy William Sandell, you've been a busy guy too. You've been all over. I mean, I can't keep up with you. I can't even say where you've been. You've been horror conventions, sci-fi conventions, art shows, all over the desert, all over LA. I'm a little bit jealous of you, William, and I will see you soon too, hopefully. And my best friend that I've never met, Kevin Key, who recently got kicked off of Facebook and now you have to go to YouTube and Instagram, TikTok to find him. I definitely want to hang out and spend some time with you and learn about your world out there in Bombay. And I guess a shout out to Stoner Van Houten, aka Bruce Fox, aka the Spawn Ranch worker. How you doing, buddy? It was great hanging out with you 2 weeks ago. All of your friends showing up for that Family Jam 8, the last jam. That was the last video on Desert Trippin', by the way, if you want to see what went on at that thing. He had some awesome musical friends, musical talent there. I know the Chuck W. Chapman was there, Jimmy Hook, and Wavy Davy was on drums with Jimmy. The beautiful and talented Laura Noir, who did very hauntingly cool renditions of some songs and I think some original songs. I think she's the Wicked Piano Girl or something on social media. And then you can't forget Horrible Neil. And I'm still trying to figure out why they call him that. But he's a funny dude, and he kind of does a very laid back kind of country guitar, straight talking kind of down home music. There was a bunch of people at the Family Jams. Scotty Morrow, shout out to you, buddy. I know we're new friends now on social media also. Scotty's a cool dude. I ran into him twice on that trip, once at the Family Jams and once down at the actual Spawn Ranch. And Scotty is pretty interesting because he brought with him to the Family Jams event a whole miniature Spawn Ranch setup. Like, he built a whole scale model of what Spawn Ranch looked like. As you know, Spawn Ranch is where Charles Manson and his family stayed for about 18 months, and it seems like they were there a lot longer because of all the stuff they got into while they were there. But Spawn Ranch had been around for decades as a movie set and a prop house, and they had horses that could be used on movies. A lot of westerns were filmed out there, and until it was kind of falling into disrepair, and that's when Charles Manson and his crew kind of came upon the place. They decided they could make it their home. They kind of, made themselves at home, and got in good with old man Spawn. I think he was lonely and he liked all the girls that Charlie had around. So that was a little arrangement that was working out for him. And then the rest. The rest is history. There's different versions of that history, so I guess you have to do a deep dive and read all the facts and then figure out, what may or may not have actually happened there. Figure it out for yourself. And then because of all the negative publicity of the area, and it was drawing trouble, like I guess kids were going there and partying and getting into trouble and doing all kinds of shit, they wound up deciding to bulldoze it. They just destroyed it. They flattened it, and they pushed it over the side of the hill, and the plants grew over it, so it's all just gone now. So Scotty has a miniature scale model of what Spawn Ranch looked like. And you can kind of see what Spawn Ranch looked like in Quentin Tarantino's movie, Once Upon a Time in America. Well, you know what? I was just going to check in and say hi